Before the rise of Greece, before Rome's legions ruled the West, a mighty civilization united the East, a vast empire that stretched from the Indus Valley to the Mediterranean. This was the Persian Empire, a land of kings and visionaries, of golden palaces and sacred fire, of justice, tolerance, and absolute power. This is the story of the world's first true superpower. In the heart of modern-day Iran, around 550 BCE, a tribe known as the Persians rose under a visionary leader, Cyrus the Great. Born in a world of warring kingdoms, Media, Lydia, and Babylon, Cyrus united the tribes of Persia and changed history forever. His dream, a kingdom not built on fear, but on respect and freedom. Under Cyrus, the Persian Empire became the first multicultural state, allowing conquered people to keep their traditions, religion, and language. Cyrus's campaigns reshaped the ancient world. He defeated the powerful Medes, conquered the wealthy Lydian kingdom of Croesus, and liberated Babylon, entering the city not as a destroyer, but as a savior. The people hailed him as a liberator, not a conqueror. His rule stretched across 3 continents, the largest empire the world had ever seen. How did Cyrus and his successors govern such a vast land? The Persian genius was not only in war, it was in organization. The empire was divided into provinces called satrapies, each ruled by a governor or satrap. A network of royal roads and couriers connected the empire, messages could travel faster than ever before. This system became a model for future empires, even Rome borrowed from Persia's administrative brilliance. After Cyrus's death, his successors continued his dream. Among them, Darius the Great, transformed Persia into a global powerhouse. He built grand cities, monumental architecture, and reformed the economy with standardized coins, the daric. Under Darius, Persepolis rose from the earth, a city built not for battle, but for ceremony and unity. But power always invites challenge. To the west, the city-states of Greece resisted Persian dominance. Darius's armies clashed with Greek warriors at Marathon, and later his son, Xerxes, faced them at Thermopylae and Salamis. Despite their might, Persia could not subdue Greece, a conflict that would shape East and West for centuries. Beyond war, Persia's greatest legacy was cultural. The empire celebrated art, architecture, poetry, and faith. The religion of Zoroastrianism inspired ideas of good and evil, heaven and hell, influencing later Abrahamic faiths. Persian engineers mastered irrigation, mathematics, and astronomy. Persian gardens inspired the concept of paradise itself, paradisa. By the 4th century BCE, internal weakness and corruption eroded Persian unity. When Alexander the Great invaded, the once mighty empire crumbled. The city of Persepolis burned, the symbol of Persia's golden age consumed by fire. Yet, even in defeat, Persia's influence lived on. Alexander himself adopted Persian customs, for he knew that conquering Persia meant inheriting its greatness. The Persian Empire rose from the desert with divine precision and purpose. Their stone carvings guarded stories of power, order, and faith. Artisans turned every wall into a message of the king's might and the empire's unity. With human strength and clever design, Persia built its wonders from earth and stone. Beneath the sands, a network of water veins kept life blooming in impossible places. As the sun set, Persepolis glowed like a crown, a city built for gods and kings alike. The royal road tied together lands once divided by mountains and faith. Gold, language, and culture flowed freely from one end of the empire to another. Messages that once took months now traveled in days, an empire's heartbeat. From Sardis to Susa, the road was Persia's living artery. Under every constellation, Persia connected worlds. For Darius, every mile of road meant another step toward immortality. 10,000 warriors stood ready, known as the Immortals, symbols of fear and loyalty. Their precision and discipline turned battle into geometry. The Persians fought not with chaos, but with design. Even the seas bowed to Persian order. Their wars were not only for land, but for legacy. For every victory, the empire wrote another line in the book of time. Long before empires sought gods, Persia found light itself divine. Zoroastrianism preached purity of thought, word, and deed. The winged emblem reminded Persians that good triumphs when man chooses wisely. From palace to village, belief united hearts stronger than any sword. Their faith was a war between truth and the lie, a mirror of human struggle. In every sunrise, Persia saw the face of Ahura Mazda. Persia's cities were living mosaics of nations and tongues. Beauty was not a luxury, it was daily devotion. Even joy flowed with the water that made their world bloom. Knowledge was the empire's quiet power, passed from mind to mind. Celebration was how Persia remembered it was alive. From the farmer's field to the king's throne, all shared one horizon. The Persians gave their empire a voice, chiseled into eternity. Color was a language even the illiterate could understand. Words became bridges between peoples of distant lands. Their art blended grace with meaning, luxury born from discipline. Their music echoed from palaces to deserts, carrying pride and memory. Through art, Persia spoke one truth, unity through difference. In the silence of night, Persia read the language of the cosmos. Their healers turned nature into medicine centuries before Greece. Time itself was a Persian invention of precision. From mathematics to astronomy, they measured both heaven and earth. Knowledge flowed like light, feeding every corner of the empire. To them, stars were not just light, they were lessons written by the divine. The Persian court was theater, where loyalty met spectacle. Every visitor saw not a man, but the living law of the empire. Tribute flowed like rivers toward the throne of power. Around the king stood silence, sacred and absolute. The empire was ruled not just by command, but by record and reason. Every decision stamped by the king echoed across continents. When the Persians met Greece, the world held its breath for history. Armies stretched beyond the horizon, commanded by kings who sought destiny. Persia's might clashed with Greek defiance, birthing legends that shaped the West. For Persia, war was ritual, discipline over chaos, order over rebellion. Victory and loss both became verses in the empire's song. From the ashes of conflict rose lessons that would echo through empires yet unborn. Xerxes inherited not only a crown, but the burden of empire. His rule brought grandeur, extending Persia's beauty and authority. Ambition drove him toward Greece again, fate waiting beyond the waves. Within marble halls, glory shimmered beside pride. Even the greatest rulers must bow before the unpredictability of the sea. In silence, the King of Kings realized that even gods envy mortality. Behind every Persian king stood women whose influence shaped dynasties. They were artisans, healers, and voices in royal courts. Education was not forbidden, it was celebrated among Persian women of rank. They gave birth to both warriors and wisdom. In a world ruled by men, Persia quietly honored the strength of its queens. Her gaze, like Persia's destiny, reached beyond the known world. The sea became Persia's new frontier of dominance. With order and precision, the navy carried the empire's pride. Persia's fleet was a moving fortress, fierce, intelligent, and divine. Strategy ruled the waves as much as strength did. Victory came with a cost even empires could not ignore. The water carried whispers of both triumph and humility. Knowledge was the empire's invisible weapon. They understood the harmony between man and nature. Education was a sacred duty, not a privilege. Numbers, to them, were the purest form of truth. Persia mapped the cosmos long before telescopes. Within those walls lay centuries of human curiosity preserved in ink. The Persians shaped paradise itself on earth. Gardens were designed as mirrors of heaven, order, beauty, balance. Every leaf was a prayer to harmony between man and earth. In these spaces, peace was power. Nature and design spoke the same divine language. Even time seemed to slow, paying respect to the empire's serenity. No empire united the world like Persia did. Ideas traveled faster than armies across its borders. Tolerance was Persia's most advanced law. The empire grew richer through every culture it embraced. He ruled not with oppression, but with unity and vision. Persia proved peace was the greatest victory of all. Time, like an unseen enemy, began to tighten its grip on Persia. Luxury turned to decay, loyalty gave way to greed. The fire that once forged empires now flickered weakly. Even the greatest structures crumble when faith fades. The winds of change carried the footsteps of conquerors. Glory, once eternal, began to fracture under the weight of time. From the west, a young conqueror rose, a storm named Alexander. For the first time in centuries, Persia looked into the eyes of an equal. His ambition knew no borders, only destiny. The clash between Greece and Persia shook the very fabric of history. Courage met strategy, and the ancient empire trembled. The dawn that once belonged to Persia now rose for another. The last king of Persia ran not from enemies, but from fate itself. The empire's blood spilled upon the land it once ruled. Loyalty fractured like shattered glass. Even kings must answer to the silence of destiny. One conqueror bowed to another, honoring a fallen god of empire. With that gesture, Persia's reign ended, and its legend began. The city of kings met its final night. Fire devoured centuries of wisdom and art. Even victory felt hollow amidst such ruin. The empire's story was written in fire one last time. The heart of Persia turned to ash, but its spirit refused to die. From those ashes, the myth of Persia rose, immortal and untamed. Alexander ruled not as a destroyer, but as a student of Persia. He blended two worlds, the conqueror and the conquered. Knowledge flowed freely once again, reborn through translation. Cultures that once clashed now danced under one sky. Love became diplomacy, empire became family. Persia lived on, not as land, but as legacy within the heart of the world. After Alexander's death, his dream shattered into fragments. Greeks ruled the east, but Persia's essence endured beneath new crowns. Even conquerors could not erase the culture they admired. A new fusion of civilizations began, a child of conquest and memory. Persia's roads lived on, carrying stories and silk. The stones watched silently, knowing history had only changed form. Centuries passed, yet Persia's shadow stretched across the earth. From Europe to Asia, her creations whisper through glass. The language of design, first spoken by Persia, still builds our cities. The stones may sleep, but their stories remain awake. Persia teaches every generation that greatness is built on unity and order. The eternal fire still burns, for Persia was never lost, only reborn. From dust to glory, from glory to legend, Persia endures. No empire truly dies when its spirit shapes the world that follows. Persia's soul was light, pure, timeless, divine. Its message still flies, truth over falsehood, harmony over chaos. The empire lives in every word, every art, every heartbeat of civilization. And so, through the silence of ages, Persia speaks, forever. Don't forget to subscribe and explore the past with us.